In Aristotle's Ethics, he defines a slave as a person born without the rationale to control their own lives. In Greek and Roman times, and all of our history, there have been slaves. We look at slavery as what we, the British, and our cohorts in the 1700s created, that fiefdom of evil, slavery. Blacks are slaves, whites are slave masters. So when we hear the word slave, we immediately think about this corruption. But go back to Greek and Roman times, a slave could lift themselves from slavery, and it was common that a slave in a household, for example, would be treated with love and respect. If that person could educate themselves, they would give an education. Often they were given education. If that person could educate themselves to a level of understanding, they were no longer a slave. They were a free man, because they had lifted themselves from this. They'd proven to their slave master that they had the capacity to control their own lives, and then they're no longer a slave. And so that the system, which has slaves in it, as defined by Aristotle, can be a really good one. Because if you don't have the capacity to control your own life, and you don't have the capacity to reach that capacity, then the best place for you to be living as a human being is where someone's looking after you and taking care of you. You're useful. You're doing the useful jobs that you like, that you're doing. That's your job. But you're also, everything's catered for. And so you're free to be the best person that you can be within the capacity that you've been given. And you may find within that you then can reach above it and higher and keep increasing. But nonetheless, it's up to each individual to choose. So in the future, I think that's what we should base it on, Aristotle. We should go right back to Aristotle, look at how democracy has corrupted Aristotle. It's just a rule by the rabble, and go back to nations of free people. If you're a slave, as defined by Aristotle, you are going to be given education to lift yourself up as quickly as possible. For example, I talked about this in my world peace idea, that if I was in charge, then I would make sure everyone would be a slave. Day one, everyone is going to be defined as a slave. And then those who can demonstrate the capacity that they can control their own lives will no longer be defined as slaves, and they'll be working within the team. But they'll also have to take on the values and morality that whoever is in charge, if it was me, whoever is in charge has set, those values, those moralities, about how you treat other people. So those people then be responsible for their slaves, but their job would be to do what I've done to them. And I'd be making sure that they did that. So it makes sense. It's just the corruption of the word slave that, funnily enough, think about the pyramids being built by slaves. They weren't slaves, they were children. Loved. They loved the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh loved them. They would do whatever they wanted, and look at the way they lived in there. They had good places to live. The towns were good. They were looked after. They were cared for. So they wanted to do it, wanted to make it good. A country to be proud of. That's what I want. At the moment, the corruption of slavery is what's corrupting us. Who are the elites? The elites are the slave masters. So in the model I just told you, the leader would be the slave master and would control the slaves. Done with love, we can have no slaves at all in a very short space of time. Those people who want to retain that status can perfectly happy to do so. They'll have a great life. There's no stigma here. So the elites are the slave masters. If you had the power of atomic energy, if your tribe, and in this case it's the white Prussian tribe who had that information, you would think that everyone else does not have the rationale to control their own lives because they don't understand the atomic energy as you understand it. Because you won't share that information because it's power, you then say, well, I'm going to control my slaves from back here where no one can see me, through all these other entities, these clowns, these fools that I'll throw into these various democracies because I've corrupted entirely. And then they'll run the slaves on my behalf, and I can have my happy elite life using all the power, the control of the simulation of reality. That's what they're doing. So that's who the elites are. It's a self-selected group of Prussians who've created the Third Reich. Now, I know it's crazy, isn't it? And when I speak to people about the Nazis winning the war, they go, but it just makes perfect sense of the world you see around you. That's all I'm saying. Think about it as a possibility. The Nazis won the war. And then look at the world right now, today, and what's happening. This is what's happening. A new societal model is being established around you. One in which paedophilia is acceptable, where men are going to be in places where women only should be, and women will be afraid. So if you've got women afraid, your society's absolutely screwed. Men can just run frightened women. Easy. You'll be borders. Israel is the example here. What they're trying to create is a unified tribe with a set border and nothing within that. We have the right to set our boundary. If we want more space, we'll fucking take it. America is supporting Israel. Of course it is, because that's how you got your country. You took it from the Native Americans who were already there. And so the model that Israel's following is the model that built America. So if you stand up and support peace, you're saying, oh, we're in trouble too. So you can see how embedded this whole system is in it. So you've elected we have got self-selecting slave masters in charge who fucking hate us. They hate us. They don't see us as anything. They hate us. They don't care about us at all. You have to remember this. They care naught. Even for their own tribe, they would happily sacrifice people from their own tribes and families because they think they know, from their understanding of atomic energy, that proteins equal zero. And that's wrong. Wrong physically, wrong mathematically, wrong biologically, wrong chemically, wrong societally, wrong psychologically. Wrong. And we have the opportunity to understand this idea of slaves and slavery, rationale and control of lives as a model on which to base a society in which there are no slaves unless you choose to be. And we should just have another word, children. Yeah, you can be an adult as a child. It's fine. Take the load off. Yeah, take the load off. And just live life. That's what we want to do. Every human being free to live their own life. On the planet of excellence where we're in charge. So you can continue as you are every day that now passes. Everyone who dies through military or paramilitary might need not have done so. If you had chosen to see the truth of reality now, it will stop. And the elites will be us. And if you want to be an elite, you train yourself to be one. Jedi training. Available for all. Welcome to New Earth.